Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining us. And I'm pleased to be joined by Nate Coulter, Executive Director of the Central Arkansas Library System, and also by Mary Franklin, who is the Division Chief for County Operations at the Department of Human Services. And I am excited about this announcement, in which I can tell you a partnership has been created between DHS and Central Arkansas Library System to provide greater assistance to those recipients of Arkansas Works in helping them to meet the reporting requirements. And the partnership that I'm announcing today with Central Arkansas Library System will go a long ways and be an additional layer of assistance that we can provide to those that are on Arkansas Works in meeting the work requirement and those reporting elements. To explain this in more detail, I wanted to introduce Mary Franklin to talk about it from a DHS perspective, and Nate, who's we've known for longer than we'd both want to say. We are delighted with your partnership and look forward to hearing you talk about it from a library perspective. So Mary?
Thank you and good afternoon. I would like to start by thanking Nate Coulter and the Central Arkansas Library System for this partnership opportunity so that we can work together to help our Arkansas Works beneficiaries. For more than a year, DHS and our partners have been working with higher education, trade schools, other fellow agencies and other stakeholders to provide information, and often with follow-up in-person informational sessions. We have also worked with our carriers to reach out and educate our beneficiaries. We have proactively made tens of thousands of phone calls to help our beneficiaries understand the requirements and help get them ready. And we have also launched a helpline at DHS where people can now report by phone. So when Mr. Coulter reached out and offered this partnership and wanted the Central Arkansas Libraries to get involved and for their staff to learn how to help people in person at the libraries report online, we were thrilled. This is a convenient and easy way to have free access to the internet and assistance with reporting online, and we're just very pleased with the partnership. Thank you so much.
The governor is right. We've been friends since back when we both had a lot of hair, and the governor used to call me to visit about, he wanted to talk to some Democrat, and that was back when there were a lot more Democrats, so it was a big honor because you had a lot of people to choose from. But we do appreciate your supporting this partnership. I also want to take a minute to thank you for something that you did 2 years ago that affected my library and the libraries all over the state. In the end of the legislative session 2 sessions ago in the Revenue Stabilization Act, the state library aid was reduced by about $1 million. That affected a lot of rural libraries dramatically, and wasn't a lot of money, but it had a big impact on their ability to deliver these kinds of services we're talking about today to their communities. The governor in the next year rose up and helped with the legislature to restore that money, and it was really a great thing for our library, but all libraries across the state. So we appreciate very much your sensitivity to the important role that libraries play, low profile sometimes, but very vital to a lot of communities, particularly in the rural parts of the state. This is one great example of how libraries can help in partnering with the state to help all of our people. It occurred to us several months ago that we ought to be at the front line for helping people get compliant if they've satisfied the work requirements. And we cast around, and people in the library said, well, we're not getting a lot of people coming in and asking for that. And I think that's borne out by the statistics. Last month, there were over 13,000 people who were determined to be not eligible, but only a handful of them came to the portal or submitted any information. Some of those people, as the governor's indicated, may have other jobs. Their spouses may have covered them. But we fear at the library there are just a lot of people who don't know what the state's providing in terms of access that we can help them. That's what librarians do. We generally give out information to people, but we also can help them submit this information to the department so they can determine whether you're still eligible for this coverage. And we all benefit, as the governor has said before, by keeping people insured when they've satisfied the requirements. So here's what we've done. The governor's staff and DHS were very responsive, couldn't wait to help train our people. We've had training sessions with the DHS staff. We have somebody in every one of our branches. There are 14 branches in our system, 9 of them in Little Rock. There's one in Perryville, there's one in Maumelle, there's one in Sherwood, there's one in Jacksonville, there's one in Wrightsville, and there are 9 across the city. Somebody in every one of those public libraries has the capacity to help. They are an expert. We have 100 people on our staff who've taken a little quiz that we've given them to see if they know enough to be able to communicate what the situation is, to triage and determine when somebody needs some help. So here's what, through Amy and Mary's staff, we've learned how to do. We can help somebody set up the account on the Access Arkansas website portal to get their information into it. We can help them navigate that portal. We can help them make a phone call if they hit a barrier or they find an impediment. Pick up the phone. We can help you do that. Call the DHS. There's a hotline. And most important is the fact that we have computers in all of our branches and we have scanners. We can take someone's documents, the supporting documents, scan, upload those, and email them to the state. So we can do all that. We're ready to go. We're ready to do it. We don't have as good a network of communicating as maybe the state does, so we want people to know that. And the other really important part about this is that once our library has done this, we think there's a low barrier, it's very efficient to send out a training packet, a toolkit to all the librarians around the state and to encourage them to make this service available. And it will be another reminder of why the governor was so helpful and smart to find that money and restore that funding, because the library in your town, wherever it is in Arkansas, can be a vital partner to people all up and down the economy. So we want to continue that service, and I want to thank you for being such a supportive partner with the public libraries in the state.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Director Coulter, and this is the kind of partnership that we value. I believe it'll make a real difference for those that are on Arkansas Works and want to continue their coverage. And our objective in Arkansas Works is to make sure that everybody who's entitled to coverage has coverage. We want them to have that. We also want them, if they're in need of training, if they're in need of other services, that we can identify and we can support them. And the result of those that have received notice of the work requirements since last June, I believe it is, 11,000 have moved on to work now. They've got employment, they've been provided services, but it's all been initiated by those that receive the compliance requirement. This will be another tool for each of those recipients to be able to comply, to make sure that if they're still qualified, that they can meet those reporting requirements. So thank you again, Central Arkansas Library Services. And with that, I'd be glad to open up to any questions.
The fact that you're making this available, are you acknowledging that there's still some barriers that are keeping people from being able to report in terms of internet access or figuring out how to do it?
No, you know, this is it's a process that you go through from the very beginning to assure the availability to comply and to give them the assistance they need. Whether they go by the DHS office, whether they make a telephone call, whether they go onto the portal, whether they go into an office and ask for assistance like Central Arkansas Library Services or System, we want to continue to make and increase the assistance for them. So this is a new partner that we add to the mix. We're grateful for this partnership. We welcome other partners. It's not an indication that what we've done is not sufficient. It's just saying if we can do more, we want to do more. And this is an example of a very effective partnership. And sure, libraries, what a great idea, because people are used to going to library to use internet services. They're used to going to library for books and education and learning and dropping their kids off, and so it's an obvious avenue that can provide additional assistance, and we think this is a partnership that will help.
Will you be looking for other libraries as partners?
Well, as Director Coulter mentioned, we'll certainly make them aware that this is what Central Arkansas Library System is doing, and this training and this opportunity is available to them, and I do hope others will see this as an opportunity to serve the public.
We're waiting on the judge's decision on Arkansas work. If the judge rules against the state, what do you see as the future of Arkansas works, and what would be the next step if the judge rules against the work requirement?
Well, I'm hopeful and optimistic that he'll rule in our favor, but we also recognize he was the same judge that struck down the Kentucky work requirement. From the hearing that he conducted, he seemed open-minded on it. He asked very good questions. We're just awaiting the decision, and I don't want to presuppose what happens based upon that decision. There's obviously appeal opportunities. There's obviously an evaluation of where we are, but I see Arkansas Works as something that the Arkansas member of the General Assembly has growing confidence in because of the controls that we have in place, the greater integrity in the system, and so that growing level of confidence I think gives it, it puts it in a good position for the future. And hopefully this decision will be consistent with that confidence.
So you would, appealing is a definite possibility if it goes against you?
Well, I just think that with the judge, we're waiting on a judge's decision. So I don't want to presuppose what he will do. I don't want to let him know our comments on it at the time. So let's just wait and see what his ruling is. I'm optimistic about it. And then we'll take it as to what actions need to be taken from there.
And you're not saying the same thing that the governor of Kentucky was saying, which, as I understand it, was if the judge rules against us, we're just going to.
I have not said that, and I will not say that.
In another court case, the Trump administration has said that it's going to try to repeal the whole Affordable Care Act, not just the work requirement, or not just parts of it. What do you think about that change in their policies?
It's not any surprise. This is before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, a very conservative circuit. I expect them to rule, and I expect it very likely to be in the United States Supreme Court for a decision. And I've never believed that that is inconsistent with what we're doing in Arkansas, and that if the ACA is struck down, then the question is, what do you replace it with? And I've always said, if Congress is going to change from the ACA, we have to know what is the option, what direction we're going to go, and I've urged them to develop a system that gives the states more flexibility, in which allows us to continue an Arkansas Works type initiative, but to manage with more flexibility from the state standpoint. So it's not a surprise, the position of the Justice Department, and we'll have to wait and see how that develops.
You have been urging that, but Congress has not done that. And now, all of a sudden, it could happen immediately without, what happens then? Does Congress actually act?
Well, those are the circumstances from experience that Congress actually acts. And that is whenever there is a deadline, there's an urgency, there is an inevitability of a change, and they have not had that pressure in the past. If there's an adverse court decision, they would have that pressure, and I think that would force them to have the replacement. So I don't think it's something to get nervous about. I think there has been a lot of preparatory work in it because of the debate on some of the options that I've advocated for, as well as others. Thank you all very much today. Well, good questions they asked. Good job. You're very articulate on that. Great job. I'll brag on you. I'll stand with the microphone with you anytime.
Thank you very much. So, we've been working